Hello and welcome. I'm going to be talking today about how to get your child interested and motivated in reading. And reading is one of the greatest gifts that we can give our children because they're going to use reading throughout their childhood and when they grow up. And if we can develop kids who are really enthusiastic readers, we can really help them in so many ways with their activities. So I like to say that kids often learn to read in school, but they often learn a love of reading at home with parents. So if you want to help your child learn how to love reading, you're in the right place. I'm Dr. Ellen, and whether your child is an infant or a toddler or an emerging reader or a teenager, I'm going to give you steps and strategies that can help you develop a passion and a love for reading with your kids. I'm going to talk about kids of all ages. I'm going to tell you how you can facilitate and create love for reading, how you can build it even for reluctant and hesitant readers. And I'm going to tell you how to do it with older kids who never loved reading, and you'd really like to get them to want it. So I'm going to share 7 clues today to help develop a love for reading with our kids. So let's dive right in and let's get going. The first clue to creating a love for reading is that a love for reading is not defined by the first word of a book and reading all the way to the last word of the book. A love for reading is facilitated by the discussions we can have with our children, the conversations we can have. What happened in the book? What did the characters do? What did you like about the characters? What about the story moved you? And it's these conversations, these discussions that can really help kids enjoy reading time and enjoy books more. It's being connected and making connections. And when kids are resistant to reading, it's choosing books on topics that they love so they can get involved in the books. And it's getting kids involved in choosing books that they'd like to read so that when they sit down, they'll be interested and motivated. And there are so many discussion questions that as parents we can provide and bring up with our kids. I'm going to give you a few today, but I have a whole e-report with a whole list of discussion questions that you might want to have to use to stimulate discussions with your kids. So I'll give you a few questions and I'll tell you how you can get that e-report. So a few of the questions are, what did you like about the book? What did you think when the character did, and explain a particular situation? Why do you think the author wrote the book? Would you want to read this book again? Why or why not? And again, I have a whole list of questions and we don't really have time for me to read all the questions. But if you'd like to get a copy of the e-report for yourself with a whole list of the conversation starters and other recommendations about getting kids motivated to read, feel free to let me know. Send me an email to ellenwillhelp@gmail.com. And please put in the subject or somewhere in your email, book discussions. So I'll know which e-report you want. I have a lot of reports that I prepare for parents. So again, I'm happy to send that to you if you'd like. And again, remember, these conversations help make the book even more interesting. And the book is more than just the words in the book, the first word to the last word. My second clue is understand your relationship with your child as it relates to reading. And I'm going to talk about some age-appropriate recommendations to develop passion in reading. And I'm going to actually read these categories. So for infants and babies, we read to a child. For toddlers, we read with a child. Even though they're not readers yet, we want to get them interested in the pages and the print and the artwork and the story and understanding the characters in the story. For emerging readers, we read with and beside a child. And for older children and teens, we read as a reading partner to your teenager. So you might read the same book separately and discuss it, or you might read it out loud and alternate pages reading out loud. That's fun for teenagers. And you definitely want to get some of those discussion questions to facilitate some conversations. So I'm going to explain all of these levels of reading with the age-related classifications more later, but I want to talk about some of the other clues first. So the next clue is to demonstrate a love of reading by being a role model. So let your child see you sit down and read regularly, and see if they come over and sit next to you to read. And if not, invite them to come and sit next to you to read. And whatever you're reading, even if it's work material sometimes or the mail, just as long as you're reading and you look like you're enjoying it, let your kids see you read, especially books. And even if you're not instinctively a book lover, you can develop enthusiastic readers. Make book time with your child fun. Make it a habit, a routine of reading together. And so your child, this way your child may not be developing a passion for reading on their own, but reading together may be the spark that can help start that joy and passion. Many parents have a bedtime routine of reading a book before bed, but also think about other times too, maybe after dinner, after homework is done, during weekends or other regular times. So let's talk a little bit more about those time classifications. So for babies, you're reading to them. Obviously, they aren't able to read themselves. You're reading to them, but the goal is to have them enjoy the reading, have them enjoy book time. So you might want to have them help you hold the book or touch the book or show them the pictures. You might want to use different voices for different characters or animals in the book. And maybe you'll be cuddling on the couch together or under a blanket together. The goal is to really make book time and reading a fun experience, to make it fun time. And for toddlers, it's reading with your child. So even if your child isn't reading yet, you want them to be actively involved in watching the pages, in looking at what's going on the pages, even the artwork, and understanding the story that's going on. And they're watching as you read. And sometimes when you read the same book over and over again, they get to learn the story and associate what they see on the pages with the story. And so sometimes it's fun for toddlers to have a book read to them a couple of times, and then they learn the story so well that they can take the book and turn the pages and read the story back to you, even if they don't read. Toddlers love that, and young kids. And again, it's part of making book time fun. For emerging readers, we read with and beside our child. So you may be reading the same book together at the same time beside your child, or you may be sitting beside your child and you're each reading your own different books. And if you do, maybe every once in a while, you'll join in together in conversation and talk about what you're reading. Or if you're reading separate books with an emerging reader, if they have difficulty with a word, you're right there and they can ask for a little support, and hopefully you'll give them a little supportive help without really giving them the word directly right away. And again, you're reading with and beside your child. So sometimes if you're reading the same book, maybe you can take turns alternating pages, and anything you can do to make it more fun, to make the activity more fun. For teenagers, you're reading as a reading partner. So again, you may be reading next to each other different books, and you may check in occasionally. What's going on with your reading? Are you enjoying your reading? Or you may each read the same book, and then you may share your insights and your opinions about the book. Are you liking this book? Do you like the characters? Do you like the storyline? So again, there are a lot of different ways of sharing book time with teenagers and older readers. The goal is to make it enjoyable, a together time, and an activity that's fun to do together. So clue number 4 is make reading time a routine and make it fun. So sit together, build a habit to enjoy reading time together. And read aloud with your child, no matter how old they are. Take turns reading longer books. And clue number 5, for hesitant and reluctant readers, that's often because they have trouble reading and they're not confident. So make sure you have books of various levels around, and make sure you start with a book that's accessible to them, that's within their ability. You don't want to start with a book that's very difficult and that'll be challenging. One of the things that I like to do is to give hesitant and reluctant readers what I call powerful reading experiences. So if they're always reading above their reading level, it's always going to be challenging and hard for them to love the activity. I like to compare it and say, I wouldn't want to be walking up a mountain carrying a 30-pound bag. I'd find that challenging, and I don't think I'd ever find that enjoyable. I'd like to put that 30-pound bag down and carry something manageable that I can handle up the mountain, and maybe I'd enjoy it. Same with readers. If they're constantly challenged and feeling like they're frustrated, it's really hard to develop kids who are reading lovers and reading enthusiasts. Give them opportunities to handle experiences and build up from there, so that the reluctant readers can feel confident at some occasions and then build on their challenges. For reluctant readers and teenagers, I sometimes recommend to my clients a technique that I call the book critic technique. And so invite your child to take a book and rate the book, maybe 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, where the higher number is the better rating for a book. And a 1 maybe is boring for the book, a book that they didn't like. And so invite your child when they get to the end of a book to rate a book, just like a book critic. Kids love to be asked for their advice and to give their input. And the other thing you might want to do is invite a child to keep a little journal of books that they read over time. And for each book, keep their book rating, keep their number, and some comments about what they liked and what they didn't like. And so over a period of time, your kids can learn what types of books they liked and what comments they tend to write down about books. And another clue, another hint about building book lovers and kids who love to read is don't forget to overlook some creative sources for reading, like magazines and comic books. So if your child likes sports, think about some sports magazines. And I once came up with a real creative technique for one of my clients. One of my clients wanted to help build resilience in her child who was a reluctant reader. And we found a superhero comic book that turned out to be a perfect match for the child. And it was a pivotal moment in the child's reading journey because it was a moment when the child realized she loved reading. She really loved reading that, and it sparked her to find other books that she could love, and she did. So it was really a pivotal moment, and it all revolved around finding the perfect superhero comic book for this child. Again, think about being creative in finding a good reading match. So again, a love for reading often results from a love from finding the perfect book, a good match, a good reading source. And another clue is kids can enjoy reading with other relatives and caregivers and people around them as well. So you might want to have them discuss with their grandparents, what's your favorite book? What types of books do you like to read? Or aunts and uncles or cousins. Even if there's a cousin who's a little older, maybe who can read to your child or who can talk about reading and what they like about reading. Sometimes these can be really inspiring discussions and can help extend and share the joy of reading with your child. And finally, remember that good reading skills can help support language development and vocabulary. They can help support thinking skills and problem-solving skills and building empathy. If you can understand a character's perspective and an experience, what did this character go through in this situation? And good reading habits and skills can help build good school preparedness. So helping to develop a love for reading at home is really a gift for your child. Again, I like to say that kids learn to read in school, but they can learn to love reading at home with parents. So make reading time fun, engaging, and happy. Make it a routine. And if you'd like a copy of the e-report that I talked about with conversation starters for book discussions, feel free to send me an email to ellenwillhelp@gmail.com. Make sure you put book discussions in the subject or in your email so I'll know which topic to send you. I create a lot of reports and files to share with the parents that I work with. If you have a topic that you'd like me to speak about, also feel free to email me. I come back every week with a new topic, and I'll be back again next week with another topic. If you found this video helpful, I'm going to ask you to do 3 things. Please hit the like button so other people will know that this is worth listening to. Feel free to share this with other people who you feel might benefit from the suggestions that I've given. And remember to hit subscribe so that you can benefit and know when I come out with a new video. So again, I'll be back next week with another topic. And until then, be strong, be empowered, and let's talk again soon.